The questions on the table for this program are how the cloud, analytics, social media, and mobility are changing the world of business and the models that we've been accustomed to. Let's meet our experts who are involved every day in the future and how it will affect you. First, Bill Roboto. He's a partner in the Deloitte & Touche's Boston office, a Big Four accounting firm. So, Bill, welcome to Texas.
Pleased to be here.
And finally, next to you is Barry Liebert. He's chairman and founder of Open Matters. Barry, welcome.
Great to have you.
So what is all this change we're talking about? I mean, I hear all this stuff, I read all the things you sent me, and I don't think I understand it all, but I know it's a big deal. What is it?
So basically, when you think about it, the last 10 years you've seen some major new technologies emerge. The simplest one to think about is Facebook, right? It's fundamentally altered who we communicate with, how we communicate, just by checking Facebook versus talking to my friends.
Well, that is one big change without a doubt, but it's not just, I suspect it's not just that company. It's something about that company. What is it about that company that's different from, let's say, someone who's manufacturing Acme bricks out here?
Absolutely. So what they thought about is that the internet is basically the basis for foundation for manufacturing information versus someone who came along, let's call it, Ford, and thought he was going to manufacture something called a car using industrial facilities. Now they're using the internet to manufacture information for all of us to share. So very different platforms for creating value, and you're seeing all that in lots of different industries, not just in the social industries.
Yeah, exactly. And when you consult with companies, and Bill, when you consult with companies, and they're asking you what you see out there, what could improve what they're doing, or even worse, what could be the thing that absolutely kills their whole category of business? What are you telling them?
Well, in fact, Dennis, you said it right in the beginning, which is sometimes this is scary because there's revolutions that have occurred over time. And every time there's a new revolution, new thinking comes into mind. This whole thing about technology is scary to people because it is change. But look, over the last 200 years, the Industrial Revolution took us out of the agricultural-based economy. And everything changed at that point. How value was created and what we measured. But that changed with the service revolution, where many manufacturing companies figured out that you could make as much money or more money with lower capital and less risk by servicing that which you sold. But then something changed. Everything changed with what's referred to as the software revolution. Because what they figured out was that value was in things that were soft and intellectual versus hard and physical. The network revolution is just yet one more revolution that we need to become accustomed to. And what's happening today is there's new technologies helping people connect in that network. You're now in a technology-oriented versus a physical business. And what's happening is you're creating something, a piece of intellectual property, that once created has zero marginal cost to sell the next product. And those businesses scale dramatically more. You move into the network and they've actually created a platform that other people will scale for you.
Well, I hear all that and I love all that, but Barry, I'm sorry, there are a lot of people who are so, let's just say, invested in, whether it's sunk cost or whatever, what they're doing. You can't expect every company in this country, much less the world, to embrace this, can you? I mean, is that possible?
So I think every business has to think of themselves as a portfolio or of capabilities. Just like you think about capabilities of people, you think about your business as a portfolio of assets, if you might think of it, like stocks, bonds, cash, and alternatives. You think the same thing. What I want to do is have a portfolio. Some of my assets, physical assets, are still valuable having. Some of the services I offer are still valuable having. But to really compete today, you have to basically do what everybody just said on the panel. You have to say, gee, what intellectual property have I created that I can offer to some customer that tells them what's the information they need? Distance learning, right? Mm-hmm. That I can offer them in any industry. Doesn't matter if it's banking, insurance, finance, you name it. And then lastly, from a network perspective, how might I connect my customers so they are participants in my business, helping me think about a new idea, a new way of doing things, a new way of self-serving. So I think everybody can participate. This is not exclusive. This is an all-inclusive membership opportunity.
Well, it's not something that's new. I mean, we've been through this, we're going through this process. This is just one more. Obviously, we've talked about the technologies, but talk to us about cultural shifts, which are helping to make this happen.
That's right. So if you step back for a minute and think about all businesses are in business to satisfy their customers' needs. There are, once again, more technologies, new technologies that are coming faster and faster, allowing us to use them to connect with our customers. But what's important here is that on top of that, there is a cultural shift. One of it includes the democratization of information, as I described, and the self-actualization of people who want to be able to do things that they couldn't do before. And so what we have is an economy where people are actually willing to share. There's collaboration, it's being consumed. People love to do that collaboration. If I can't collaborate, then I'm not interested. Peer-to-peer exchanges, crowdsourcing, where people have begun to understand that the crowd actually knows more than the expert.
I think I like what you're saying there. I'm not sure that I like that, because when we talk about what investors value these days, and it's right there. So Barry, why don't you tell us what that means?
Sure. So if we think about the fact that there really are four basic business models: businesses that make something and sell something, businesses that produce services and sell those services, accounting firms, law firms, things like that. Business number three, technology firms, we all know those, software companies, big data firms. And number four, people who create networks that we all use every single day, information networks, travel networks. What financial markets investors have realized is that consumers prefer number four, which is network-based businesses. They want to be self-actualized. They want to be in control. So investors rank them with a much higher multiple of value on their revenues, 8 times revenues or more. Said differently, all of us prefer being part of a peer-based network. So much so that investors say, we're going to give them a lot more value if you do what customers want. I hate to say this, the old expression, teach us how to fish versus fish for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we prefer to fish for ourselves than have someone fish for us.
That's a good thing from an investor side. But Bill, let's look at this last graphic, and it sort of talks about the 4 steps to progress. Lead us through these, if you will.
So what we've determined so far is that there's 4 different business models, and value gets created more towards the network, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, what do all of the companies that aren't in that business, how do they get there? So we have a 4-step model to get them. The first one is to understand, who are you and what is the business model you currently have? What do you value? After you orient yourself, then you need to kind of assess, and that is to take a look at all of the assets that you really have. Assets like the employee workforce, like connectivity to the customer, right? So understanding what assets you really have will then allow you in step 3 to begin to reallocate your capital differently. And then ultimately, how would you measure that? Because you can't measure something that you haven't valued, and you can't improve something that you don't understand how to measure it. So here in this latest revolution, which we've really just begun, the question is, what are the right kind of metrics? Move to some of the social media companies. What are they measuring to show success? Traffic, right? Not necessarily even revenue, but how much time are people spending on the network? Right. Because they know that translates ultimately into profits.
Interesting. You guys didn't invent all of this just yourself. Give us just about 15 seconds each of how you got to this and where you're going right now.
Barry and I have been working on this topic for literally 19 years. If you read some of the work that we've published 19 years ago, you would say, wow, that's very similar to the message that you have today. Mm-hmm. The big change that's occurred over 19 years is technology has continued to advance at that faster pace and proven some of our earlier messages.
Last 10 seconds, Barry.
Sure. You know, I think this is an amazing time for us all. We have a chance for the first time to not just think about distributed information, but to basically have relationships among us all. And the most important thing is that will become, in this society, the most important thing to all of us.
Thank all of you for joining us. Thank you, Barry. Thank all of you.